giving him a shot to chime in here on everything that's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Spears back on the program. How you doing, Marcus?
Sure.
What's going on?
What's up? What's up, Rich? What's up, man? I'm at a place called World Springs right now.
Okay.
Okay. It's like a bunch of like cold tubs and saunas and all type of stuff. So it's a little bit different, background setting. But my son had to come here with his basketball team after practice for recovery.
Okay.
So I decided I'm gonna get in the sauna and I'll do Rich Eisen from World Springs. Here I am, brother.
You're talking my language. Saunas and spas and things of that nature. I don't ski. I'm an après skier. Actually, I'm a gold medalist at that. If après ski was an Olympic sport, nobody's touching me.
Okay.
I'm with you. Which is the move that you, out of all of them on Monday, where you're like, or even the weekend, where you're like, that's the one. I would have done that too. What do you got?
Rich.
Yeah.
Max Crosby. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would say it, but one, I'm going to go to the other side and talk about how happy I am for Max Crosby to actually play with a contender. So now people can see how good he really is in impactful games. And obviously you expect the Baltimore Ravens to be in the playoffs as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And they needed to bolster their pass rush. They needed that type of mentality on defense to kind of bring that old thing back for the Baltimore Ravens. So Max getting out of the situation with the Raiders, even though I think they're going to start progressing here and being able to go and play for a contender, now he'll be able to put them talents on display on TV a lot, and people will get a great appreciation for how good he really is as a football player, let alone how impactful he is during games.
How do you think that jolts a locker room, Marcus?
I think it changes the dynamic. I mean, once now you have a cornerstone, which I believe Max Crosby is, along with the guys that were there, Kyle Hamilton obviously still being there, and then you got your cornerstone in Lamar Jackson. You got a new ushering in of a new crew with the Baltimore Ravens from a coaching staff, Jesse Minter. Like, it just makes total sense that both of these guys will carry the banner for each side of the football. They two leaders, they two uber competitors. I'm talking about Lamar and Max, and they probably align on a lot of things about how you go about trying to win games. So I just think it's a perfect match for especially for a new crew coming into Baltimore with the expectations of being Super Bowl champions.
So with Micah getting his exit visas from Dallas, and that's a totally different story. As you know, we spent, every day in August, your show, my show, every show, talking about it, and him being in Green Bay and getting paid, and now seeing Max do this. Do you think if Myles Garrett could wave a wand, he would have stuck to his "I don't want to play for Cleveland anymore" stance? Marcus?
Yeah, I think he should have. I think he should have kept his stance and "I don't want to play for Cleveland." Because, look, Rich, it comes to a point. What else can Myles Garrett give the Cleveland Browns? Like just from a football standpoint, what else could he possibly do in order to try to help this team win games than what he's done already? He's been that good that they've at times been able to win games or be in games in the fourth quarter because of his talent alone, right? And that organization has a responsibility to players like that, in my opinion. And I never was that type of guy, but they have a responsibility to players like that to try to position themselves to win championships and at least give him a window of a few years where he would have an opportunity. Myles Garrett plays in a division with Joe Burrow, who's been to a Super Bowl, Lamar Jackson, who's made deep playoff runs, the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, and the success that they've had, but even just getting into the playoffs as much as they've done. And Myles Garrett is home every offseason trying to figure out what's next for his football team. What's the moves that'll be made in order to try to put us in a situation where we could win games? And could you imagine Myles Garrett playing for a true contender? Could you imagine the type of conversation we would be having about him? We would, Rich, think about this. If Myles Garrett played for a contender the last 4 or 5 years, y'all, let me see Rich when I say this because I want to see his reaction. Myles Garrett would be in the conversation for being the best defensive player to ever play football if he played for a contender.
Ooh.
Based on what he's been doing at that position and how dominant he's been. He would be in the Lawrence Taylor, the Deion Sanders, conversation with, is this the greatest guy that we've seen play this position? And the fact that he's played with a team that just doesn't put that on display. Rich, think about the coverage we give to the playoffs. Think about the Super Bowl. Think about the things. Think about Aaron Donald and the conversations that he was in because of the success that his team had. So, yes, individually, we know Myles Garrett is one of the best players to ever do it. But if he had those platforms, those opportunities to play in those type of games, those meaningful games that everybody's paying attention to, where the viewership is 30 to 40 million plus, and people could see 95 on display like that, we would be having a conversation of, is he arguably going to end up being the best defensive player to ever play in the NFL? We can't get there, though, because he's playing for the Cleveland Browns.
To kick Ohio teams when they're down, but being a Wolverine, these things happen. Joe Burrow, what he must be thinking, right? But he has played in some meaningful games, though, as a Bengal, right? Things were corners being turned. Now, Hendrickson is going to go somewhere else. They did get Boye Mafe, but here does come Max Crosby in a division that he already has to see TJ Watt twice and also has to see Myles Garrett twice. So what do you think's going through Burrow's mind? Because he could be sitting here thinking the same thing that you just described to potentially what Garrett's thinking.
Well, here's my challenge to the Cincinnati Bengals, Rich. If offense was going to win you a Super Bowl and continuously keep you in the playoffs, you would be in the playoffs every single year when Joe Burrow is healthy, right? That's another issue that has to get corrected. His availability needs to become more pressing and more prevalent than it's been. But ultimately, we know where their issues lie too. Defensively, if this team was middle of the pack last year, they would have made the playoffs. And Joe Burrow in the playoffs, to me, is still one of the scariest things that anybody can face on a road to trying to win a Super Bowl. But unfortunately, this saga with Trey Hendrickson has been going on for 3 years. I rang the alarm 3 years ago, and the Cincinnati Bengals fans lost their mind. Talking about, no, you don't know nothing. Look, he re-signed back. I said, look, man, this is a tumultuous relationship that is not in good standing. And I knew that because Rich, you know how connected we are. And I'm not talking about front office people, or I'm not Adam Schefter. I'm connected to players. They talk. Because I'm never going to divulge any information that they give me, but I get the feeling and the tone and tenure of a lot of these teams in the NFL when it comes to certain individuals and certain players. But for Trey, he had publicly talked about how disparaging it was, the contract negotiation and the things that they were trying to get done. If you, Joe Burrow, and you just listed off the guys that are in this division now from a defensive standpoint, and you have, obviously, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and offensively, y'all put up these guarding numbers. It's going to be about stops for the Cincinnati Bengals. And whether they can or can't do that is going to determine how far they actually can go in their division. And that's why, Rich Eisen, you are who you are. Because you got to get out of your division before we start talking about playoffs. And right now, if you look at Cincinnati, they the third best team in their division, right? The second best team in their division based on talent from an offensive standpoint. If you can't play in the defense, though, it's going to hinder you like it did last year. And I think Joe Burrow in that offense is good enough to carry the load a lot of the times, but at times they're going to have to step up. And to their credit, they did start to play a little bit better at the end of the year last year. And you could see remnants of why this team can be really, really good when Joe is on and available and pushing the football down the field and doing the things that they were doing. But defensively, they are going to have to get better fast in order to keep this window open for Joe Burrow.
Marcus Spears here on the Rich Eisen Show from ESPN, NFL Live, and Monday Night Football, so much more here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, Alec Pierce, Mike Evans, Kenneth Walker the third. What else we got? I'll even throw Tyler Linderbaum in here. Or Tua out, Malik Willis in, and damn the salary cap torpedoes. Which offensive move from Monday did you like the most, Marcus?
It was Malik. A lot of familiarity where he's going, obviously. Coaches that drafted him, coaches that were a part of the process when he was in Tennessee, obviously the coaching prowess from Green Bay. I think Malik showed. Now, here's what you don't want. You don't want that to be anomaly where he stepped in at that time for Jordan Love and looked like he looked, because that is what everybody in Miami is excited about. The fact that he played at the level in which he played in time off, and it didn't look like the playbook was shrunken. It didn't look like they had the coach around him. And Rich, a lot of times when you get these backups, right, and you see them play, you have to change a few things, or some things have to, you gotta cut back in what you want to do as far as throwing the ball downfield, or you got to curtail a lot of your offense, because usually it's usually a precipitous drop off when you got your second guy going in. Malik played damn near elite in his little time. Matt LaFleur stayed aggressive. He used his legs, the run game. He looked like he had full command of the offense. He understood where he was going with the football. He used multiple weapons. He moved the ball around. I thought what he showed was quarterbacking, not some fly by night. Oh, I'm about to play and people can't scout for me, so I'm gonna have a good game, because that happens with a lot of backups as well. I think Malik is ready to take care of to become what people thought he could be coming out of the draft. I think development is taking place. Obviously, when you see him now going to Miami with a whole new, it's his team. It's his job. They didn't have to overpay for him in some crazy way. I thought the contract was great. Um, I like Malik Willis a lot. The next one is Mike Evans. But if Mike can stay healthy, we obviously know what Kyle Shanahan can do from an offensive standpoint. We know how much that'll ease things for Brock Purdy. But I would be as excited about that. It's just Mike has missed a lot of time with these injuries. So if he can be available for the San Francisco team for majority of the season, it can be a problem for everybody else in that division. And that division is damn good.
Marcus Spears here on the Rich Eisen Show. $281 million in total contract dollars given out by the Raiders on Monday. It's a lot of money.
Rich, do they have some left over for us? Can we? Is it anything we can do for the Raiders?
I'm going to have my guys look into that. Would you guys mind looking into that? Any Davis dollars left for Swagu, for his podcast, or anything like that? Okay, very good. So the reason why I bring this up is part of that was Nakobe Dean going there. A lot of defensive additions. There's a cupboard's pretty bare there. My colleague from NFL Network, or soon to be our colleagues altogether. And right, we're going to be one big happy team shortly by the end of this month. That the Cowboys were all in on Dean as well, but ultimately he went with his gut feeling. But was told he could have seen himself in both places. It was a close margin, but the Raiders won this one. Now I want to see your face. There it is. Marcus, floor's yours.
First of all, I'm a big fan of Nakobe Dean since Georgia.
Yep.
And it's I'm going to be a little bit reserved, Rich, because my team has finally stepped into free agency and we gonna do something, right? Supplementing your football team through free agents that are proven helps you win championships. And that's the scream I've had about Jerry and how they've operated. But I have to give them full credit for what they've already done. And I don't think the moves are done being made. You see the restructuring of the contracts. You see the move for the safety out of Arizona. You think about Rashawn Gary, even though he didn't have a great ending to the season, maybe a revitalized guy, Quentin Williams last year. Dallas has done some tremendous things. So this will be the first offseason, Rich, that you don't hear Marcus Spears say Dallas is not trying to win a championship or Jerry is not trying to win a championship. The moves that have been made have been leaning in that direction of being all in. I talked to Dak last year at the Pro Bowl. Well, this past Pro Bowl.
Yes.
While we were in San Fran, and I said, Dak, I want to see you in L.A. He said, man, bank on it. And I said, as long as the old man makes some moves defensively, we have an opportunity to actually be in the mix and make it to L.A. for a Super Bowl. Rich, if you know me, if you watch me, you know I am very, very, very even keel when it comes to Dallas, outside of when I'm cheering for them in actual games. I've been super critical of them. I've talked about what they haven't been doing in order to try to position themselves to win a championship. I love what Schottenheimer did as a head coach last year. Offensively, they've tagged Pickens, and defensively, they've made some moves already, and I don't think that's going to be the end of it. I'm very excited about what we've been doing this offseason. And yes, I said we.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel the same way about Nakobe Dean too, right?
Yeah.
And we have no idea what personal decisions are made, but
he would have been great. He would have been
doubt.
perfect. I just don't want to I don't want to cry over spilled milk.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, they tried for Max Crosby. You got to give it up for that. They tried for Nakobe Dean. You got to give it up for that. Rashawn Gary's outstanding. And if you look at that defensive line, last year it was Micah, who knows, how much we're going to pay him and whatever was going on beneath the surface, behind the scenes there, him in the locker room or whatever. Micah's out.
It's shaping to be a good one.
I mean, no doubt. Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary.
And don't forget Odigizua.
Right, and draft capital in your back pocket for future consideration. That's not too bad, man.
That's not bad, man. I mean, pass rush was an issue last year.
Right.
And I'm sure, it got better as the season went along. You saw it change when Quinnen showed up. But Dallas got to get stops. We need a better secondary and people that can get after the passer. And I think that offense is still going to be really, really good this year. Getting Williams back. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about running backs, but Javonte signing back with Dallas was big. He had a phenomenal year last year that kind of flew under the radar because Dak and George and, obviously CD played so well. But, there's a lot to be optimistic about now with Dallas based on the moves that they made defensively. And I think it's going to be something to reckon with. Rich, we got an alert. Did you see that alert?
What's the alert? What do we got?
I think Geno going to the Jets.
What do you think?
Back home. They wrote back, Geno.
They
wrote back.
They did finally write back. He finally got a response. Got lost in the mail. I know.
I think I can be optimistic. I hate that Geno had the type of season he had last year. It looked awful, but coming out of Seattle, the excitement. I was at the Pro Bowl with Geno Smith as he played his way into that a few years ago. So hopefully they can get some of that, and maybe it's a better offensive fit and all of that type of stuff. So good for Geno, man.
I agree. Good for Geno. And I'll use the same line I used last hour when it was possible.
You saw Dobbs just went to New England?
Look at you.
The news is coming in.
Hey, look at you. Marcus,